okay, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, like, it's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but like, what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad. But the core idea does not differ, never has differed from caves until now, that we're being acted on by spiritual forces at all times. This is the thing that every society has written about. And in fact, that battle, that unseen battle around us, that spiritual battle, has like been the basis of every society, of every religion, not just Christianity. So like, it just, once you discard your very, very recent assumptions, relatively speaking, about how the world works, you're like, well, that kind of seems like the obvious explanation, right?
Look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna try to zoom in on this. Oh my gosh, do you see that? What the bro. I've seen it all over TikTok. Now I'm literally seeing them in person. This is right next to Nashville, Tennessee. Right in Nashville, Tennessee.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years. Not immigrants, but extraterrestrials. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Well, the good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
That's the frickin' answer. So these are called plasmoids, and the drones are actually probably government drones chasing these plasmoids, and they don't want us to know how important these are. These are magic.
And it's all about these geometric shapes and plasmoids. And I've now only, after digging into science, realized that that's really what these orbs are, is a plasmosphere. So whoever had sent me this, and they basically say like, this power is unlimited.
Have you heard the theory behind orbs, aka plasmoids? Take a listen.
Okay, plasma is the fourth state of matter. It is in plasma balls, it is lightning, it is ionized gas. This can create fluorescence, which is in the aurora borealis, lightning, fluorescent light, neon lights. It's also, plasma is also the sun.
Well, wow, we can almost explain everything that we're seeing here now. We can say that this is a field of plasma, this ball. It's a non-radiating barrier, the edge of it, is basically where the magnetic field stops. They're basically shielding the 0 point energy in front of the orb, which allows it to just float freely. This is all about free energy.
So basically these plasmoids have literally been studied by the government since the 50s, and now they're appearing in our atmosphere instead of just space where they can be hidden away. Plasma will have to do with how we travel in the future. It will have to do with interdimensional communication. It's going to have to do with healing cancer. It's going to have to do with cleaning the air, and these things are already happening. It has to do with us being able, when we interdimensionally travel, we're probably going to be using these same kind of things in the future, way in the future.
why do you think they're coming out with a bunch of UFO things slowly? The aliens been here for years and years and years and
They
years,
have.
since Egyptian days.
Confirmed.
Before that, and the only reason they're slowly leaking it little by little is because if they did it right away, it would cause mass
Panic.
chaos, mass panic, confusion. So they've been setting this up just because Jesus is coming.
Movies, everything, right?
Yes,
It's
all of
almost
us.
like everyone believes in aliens.
All
now,
of a
right?
sudden, yeah.
No
But
one's gonna
before
be
that,
surprised.
they put my uncle in jail for saying that he saw an alien and put him on disability because he said he saw an alien. But why can't he get off disability now when now aliens are low key real? So what the? At the end of the day, I know exactly what they're doing. There's gonna be the rapture. Christ is gonna come back. It says in the Bible there's gonna be a great delusion. So how do you dilute everybody? You got to make them believe it was an alien abduction. So while everybody's like, yo, people left, and there's going to be people left behind, they're going to be under a spell of sort because they think it was an alien abduction. They've been setting that up for years. You just look it up.
Aliens created humans as a weapon.
Why do you need our planet?
Our star was doomed to burn out. We looked for a new place to live. Your planet is perfect. Your sun is a relatively young star. This planet will be habitable for a long time. Our solar system is quite a distance from yours.
I don't understand.
Since our colonization ship is unable to travel at light speed, we first send a smaller ship with bioweapons through hyperspace. It is capable of reaching the target almost instantly. Then, the Armada moves out. By the time the Armada arrives in 200,000 years, the planet is ready for new inhabitants.
So you're saying they're coming in 200,000 years?
No, they arrive tomorrow.
Wave number 0, the biological attack. Did you prevent it? Or did it just fail?
On the contrary, it worked very well. Our weapons are perfect. Once it reaches the planet, it starts spreading, attacking all forms of life present. It either destroys them or enslaves them. That is how we first got rid of the Earth's developed species.
You mean us?
You don't actually think that people built the pyramids and the underwater cities?
What are you saying?
Mankind itself is our weapon. You are our perfect invaders, the perfect virus. You wiped out the original population, making room for us. Look at how alike we are. Two races from different solar systems can't be this similar. We have the same DNA.
So, we... are you?
God created man in his own image. But to be specific, you're the product of our genetic engineering. You're a truncated version of us. We took away your psionic abilities. We gave you your drive to mate, which awoke your primal instincts. Combined with your emotions and mortality, this results in your need to procreate thoughtlessly and vigorously. This way, the virus spread faster. As a result, you completed the mission thousands of years sooner than expected. You lack mercy and compassion. You're driven solely by procreation and violence. When it comes to destroying lives, there's no one like you.
Movement detected.
That is why waves 1 and 2 were supposed to take you out, leaving only the slaves. Otherwise, you won't stop until you destroy absolutely everything.
They're never portrayed to be the good guys.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I mean, except for, the movie E.T. and maybe Steven Spielberg's movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind from the 70s. Yeah, every other movie is this fearsome alien invasion flick. By the way, there are people in Hollywood who wanted to do a true story on this, and they get shot down. The corporate Hollywood won't do it. They'll only greenlight these movies that are terrifying, alien invasion movies. So this is another psyop. Anyone who thinks that there's not corruption in Hollywood in the movies we see, who greenlights a $200 million flick and who pays for it? And who's going to distribute it, right? Well, it's the same conglomerates that control the corporate media. So I hate to sound, people say you're terribly cynical. I said, no, I wasn't. I learned through the School of Hard Knocks. I met with senior people in Hollywood who want to do a real movie about this, and they cannot. It'll go to a very high level and then get killed and get strangled in the cradle, which is why what's being force-fed to the public is the false narrative that people like Luis Elizondo and others want the public to hear, that it's an alien threat. Because two things that this group wanted to do in the 50s. They wanted to keep the technologies away from the public, and they wanted to develop it for themselves through reverse engineering and capturing more ET vehicles. But the other part of it was to begin this psychological warfare program that the CI director refers to in 1953, so that people would become convinced that there was a threat that would unite the world, not in peace and prosperity, but in this fearsome battle between Earth and other worlds. And who benefits from that? People say, why would they do that? I said, of course, think about how much the military, industrial, corporate, warmonger complex makes. It's very profitable. Now you would take it and put it on steroids, where it's the whole damn planet buying into this narrative.
Had the opportunity over the years to interview, again, people who have worked at the test site at Groom Lake. One gentleman spent 12 of his 30 years in black programs at Groom Lake. When I asked him, I said, first of all, I said, do you believe in UFOs? And he looked at me with a straight face in one-on-one. He said, absolutely, positively, they do exist. I said, can you expand upon that? And he said, no, I can't. About a year later, we were talking about, again, activities at Groom Lake. And I asked him, I said, you know, can you really tell me what's happening out there? And he said, well, there's a lot of things that are going on there that I won't be able to tell you until the year 2025. But we have things in the Nevada desert that would make George Lucas envious.
They also found a live alien. That live alien was named Eva, and he was transported to, it was a male, was transported to Los Alamos, where he lived out his life. He died in 1952. But during that time period that he was with us, he told us a plethora of information about what they have learned about the universe and what their technology is. Their technology is probably estimated to be about 50,000 years ahead of us.
EBA-1, who was kept in captivity in a deep underground base, was examined by the military's top experts. After several attempts to communicate with the being, a group of linguists and communication specialists were able to ascertain who the Ebans were and from where they came.
Ever since they landed in 47, there's a long story about how EBA was able to communicate. We initially didn't allow EBA to have any access to the equipment on the recovered craft from Krona. We wouldn't let him see it, we wouldn't let him touch it, we wouldn't let him go near it. It was an entirely different place. We did have what was later determined to be the energy device, and another device which we later determined to be the communications device. We did have that at Los Alamos because they were studying it. Los Alamos scientists thought the plexiglass-looking thing was just a window. They didn't realize it was an energy device. The other contraption, which was very strange in appearance, I only saw a diagram of it. I didn't ever see the real thing. It was an oblong-shaped block of something that had different appendagers, and they thought at first that that might have been some sort of an energy device, but they could never get it to activate. But turned out that was a communications device. The plexiglass area, or the crystal rectangle they call it, was the energy device. And eventually somebody decided, let's bring these into him and let him look at it. Then he explained to the handler, this was a communications device. Somehow he started trying to communicate with his planet, sending signals. I think back then they were figuring that he was sending these signals to Zeta Reticuli, which is 38 light years away. But he wasn't sending them to another planet. He was sending to this closest spaceship, closest Eben craft. So eventually the signals came in. and they made some sort of an arrangement. And before Eba died, he showed us how to use the communications device. So when Eba died, I believe it was November 1952, we were able to continue sending signals on this communications device out to space.
We had found in one of the crashed crafts was the Yellow Book. The way I've understood it is you have to be educated about how you place your fingers. If you know the patterns of how you hold the rectangle, you can make it come up in a 3D hologram. In the pages is the whole history of our planet, and also a history of what would be Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2. If you hold the Yellow Book one way with the fingers in one position, you can read it in English. If you turn it upside down and do this, you then access the Zeta Reticuli planet. That both worlds, both civilizations are encompassed in the Yellow Book. The way it has been described to me is it's got a white background. The words glow yellow. Wherever your eye is, you can slow it down, you can make it accelerate. You don't touch anything. You do it with your mind and your eye. And the Yellow Book glowing will continue to move in English if that's the configuration you are in. Then, if you want to look at the holograms that go with what you're reading, there is something that you have to do with your fingers, and then it will move from a white background with glowing yellow letters and will come up into images that are full 3D.
It's even history. It goes back thousands and thousands of years, but it's in pictures. The most incredible part about it is regardless of what language you speak, when you sit there and look at it, you hear it in your language. And we have it. It's with the artifacts in Los Alamos.
State Planet Order Zone? Okay, yesterday you told us you traveled, and I quote, thousands of light years to get here. Yes. Tell us the truth, or another leader. It is truth. Only far enough. Far enough future. To travel in time. To travel in space. So I take it aliens took over our future, right? So you're human. Okay, so you evolved from us. So what are you doing here now? How? Okay, so how about we concentrate on your time? Wait, so you know the meaning of life? What's the difference? So you know how the universe is created? So you've seen God? Okay, illuminate us. What happens when we die?
Major step taken by the government in response to those recent drone sightings in the Northeast. The FAA has issued a ban on flying drones in parts of New Jersey until January 17th without special permission from the government due to, quote, special security reasons. The rule applies to areas now deemed national defense airspace. Despite this new rule, officials have said there is no evidence the drone spotted recently pose any kind of threat.
We now have the clear shot of the orbs, which are now being called plasmoids. And people are saying that these are actual living organisms. And here's a really close-up shot of it with a 600mm film camera. And if you guys remember, there's this one dude that predicted this aerial battle that was supposed to happen shortly after Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan's podcast. If you remember, they were saying that there was supposed to be an alien invasion at a certain date and time, which never technically happened. But our definition of an alien invasion might be totally different than what's actually happening. So in this video here, a drone, which is this green light, comes up to the orb, which is the orange light, and the orb completely destroys this drone. The guy that was able to predict different events that happened did so that would use an algorithm that would analyze online conversations and predict future events. I did a full video on this, and the dude actually predicted a lot of things that have happened. And could the drones and the orbs in the sky be the alien invasion that he had predicted?
The following two videos are from a woman named Sandra. She was in Satellite Beach, Florida today, December 17th, 2024, looking out over the ocean when she sees something completely unbelievable, something that shocked her. It appears to be an unidentified object directly below the sun, and it looks like a planet. Now, what I will say is we do not have confirmation if this is a planet or if this is something else. But what's interesting is her follow-up video shows that the thing moves directly into the sun's flare as to hide itself. So no, I don't think this is a reflection. Take a look at these next two videos and tell me what you think. And could this explain the onset of these mysterious drones and UFO sightings that we're witnessing across the United States?
That half moon thingy right there, I thought it was just the light, but it's not moving, which means it's stationary. It's not moving with the camera, so it's not a light thing. Look at that. It looks like a planet with like an eclipse going on or something. What did I just watch? What did I just watch? Like, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but what the hell is that? Like, it's not in the camera lens. Look, it's not moving. It's just below the sun. Honestly, with everything going on nowadays, if someone told me a new planet's here and there's aliens coming off of it and la-di-da, I'd be like, sure, why not? Honestly, nothing phases me anymore. What is it? Okay, so the circle has now moved like in front of the sun. You can see it a little bit, but it has now moved to in front of the sun. I don't know what that is. I don't know if anybody could really debunk this for me, and I'm pretty intelligent, but this is kind of weird to me. Yeah.
Let's delve into the concept of the Galactic Federation. According to various theories and beliefs, the Galactic Federation is an alliance of extraterrestrial civilizations working together for the greater good of the cosmos. Some claim it serves as a cosmic United Nations, fostering cooperation and understanding among diverse species. Our first celestial neighbors are the Pleiadians, often described as beings of light hailing from the Pleiades star cluster. Believed to be spiritually evolved, they are said to assist Earth in its spiritual awakening, guiding humanity toward higher consciousness and enlightenment. Now let's explore the intriguing lore of the reptilians. Some sources claim these beings have reptile-like features, and come from the constellation Draco. Perspectives on them vary, with some portraying them as benevolent protectors, while others suggest a more cautionary stance, viewing them as potential infiltrators. Next on our extraterrestrial journey are the Greys, often depicted with their distinct large heads and almond-shaped eyes. Believed to be prolific cosmic researchers, the Greys are thought to engage in genetic experimentation and scientific endeavors, interacting with humans to further their cosmic knowledge. Venturing deeper into the cosmos, we encounter the Arcturians, beings associated with the Arcturus star system. Revered for their advanced spiritual wisdom, the Arcturians are believed to act as guardians, guiding civilizations toward enlightenment and harmony. Among the cosmic tapestry are the Sirians, believed to originate from the Sirius star system. These beings are often portrayed as bridge builders, fostering communication and unity among civilizations. Some even claim they played a role in the early development of Earth's ancient cultures. Now, let's gaze towards the Andromeda Galaxy, home to the Andromedans. Regarded as cosmic ambassadors, they are said to work closely with the Galactic Federation, fostering diplomacy and understanding among the diverse inhabitants of the cosmos. As we explore the diversity of extraterrestrial life, it's essential to highlight the unifying purpose of the Galactic Federation, a commitment to fostering peace, spiritual growth, and cosmic harmony. Regardless of their differences, these beings work together for the betterment of the entire galactic community.
Nationalist leader Bishop Abel Muzorewa has accepted Mr. Smith's offer to negotiate an internal settlement based on one man, one vote. But, he says, there are conditions. These include stopping the execution of all captured prisoners of war, allowing Bureau to take negotiations, being arrested. In Australia, Mr. Kerry Packer's cricketers are still pleased by yesterday's High Court decision, which lifts the ban on them playing test matches.
This is the voice of Allah, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now to service them as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world so that you...
Rhodesian nationalists.
The Anunnaki, they are these beings that came from off-world.
So these are aliens?
These are aliens. Now, what's interesting about these aliens is that they're not little green men with antenna. Yeah. They're actually hominids, bilateral bipedal hominids. They look just like us.
Okay.
You slice them in half. They have two forward-face-looking eyes, two hands, legs. They put their pants on one leg at a time like us.
But do they look more like us or more like us?
They look like, we look like them. And the reason why is because we have their genetics and their DNA inside of our bodies. Now, what's interesting is these beings were a spacefaring race that broke away from the Pleiadian star system. The Pleiadian star system is a group of stars called the Seven Sisters in the night sky. You can see 6 stars with the naked eye. Now, these stars in ancient times, according to ancient texts and tablets, there was an ancient galactic war there. Most of the information from Star Wars comes from this text. And this war, they had these destroyers like Death Stars. They don't call them that, but they call them the Brahma Astra and Brahma Astra Honda weapons that actually can release a weapon that can destroy planets. Okay. Imagine if you're in a star system and a planet is being blown up and you're in a nearby planet. You gotta get off of your planet. This created something called space refugees. Nobody's talking about this.
Where are you getting this information again? Where is it?
The Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas.
So these are ancient Indian texts.
That's right.
5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Enuma Elish,
I just want to let
Sumerian.
You know.
Comment, like, follow, and share for more forbidden knowledge.
Government worker talks about tall white extraterrestrials living amongst us in Ontario, Canada. I've spotted these beings before.
Tell us about these tall whites they're seen in Ontario and in other parts of the planet. I don't know if you know about this, but these tall whites have been seen in public.
Sure.
Is that an extraterrestrial?
Yeah. My understanding is
they're a hybrid offshoots of the Zeta Reticulans, and that they created a human Zeta hybrid that are, again, these tall whites that are an intermediary for them. They can be friendly, but apparently they're kind of hypersensitive, and so you can find yourself, on the wrong end of a beam weapon if you offend them or step on someone's toes or step in their path the wrong way or standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. They have some weird social protocols that my understanding people who interact with them on a regular basis have to be very clearly briefed upon, or serious injury could befall them.
How many hybrids do you think are actually out there on the surface?
It's got to be in the tens of thousands or upwards of 100,000 or more. I wouldn't have specific numbers on that right now, but it's got to be a lot.
Okay, so I actually live in Ontario, Canada, and I've spotted people like this before. When I first saw these people, I was like, damn, that's a really tall white person, really white and really good looking. But what called me first was their energy. It was so unworldly. It's like I knew right away they couldn't be from here, but I automatically thought, okay, maybe starseed, right? But as I started looking into extraterrestrials more, I was like, these people match the description of what I've been studying. I saw one at Lime Ridge Mall, and then I saw one at Home Hardware in Hamilton. And the crazy part is, he says if you spot one, they'll either hunt you down psychically or they'll let you know that you got them. And with me, it was with a smile. They both, even though it was on different days, they both gave me this corner smile and like telepathic message. It was so weird. It's so hard to explain. And they knew I caught them because I am so sensitive to energy. I could not stop staring at them. I was like, yo, like this guy's so unworldly. And he was already looking at me with that corner smile, like he knew that I was gonna know. I've had more experiences with these people, but the fact that government officials have come out and said that beings like this are publicly seen in Ontario is wild. Subscribe to my YouTube if you want to hear more stories like this.
The reptilians cause a crisis. That's their pattern. They create a crisis, and then they come in and say, that's terrible, how did that happen? As if they don't know. They were the ones who did it in the first place. But they don't tell the people, and then they say, well, we can take care of it for you, but sign here. Now, the reason they do that is there's another group that's very active in the solar system that we call the Galactic Federation of Worlds, which is very positively oriented. The trouble with them is that they're really hung up on this thing of non-interference with respect to free will. So if Americans sign an agreement with free will allowing reptilians to have a large underground city presence under, for example, Area 51, which we did a huge study on Area 51, the Galactic Federation of Worlds will say, they did it themselves. We can't interfere. We can't interfere with their free will. So the reptilians are very careful about not inviting intervention with the Galactic Federation of Worlds. They would lose because the Galactic Federation of Worlds has a huge presence in this solar system. In terms of the overall galaxy, the Galactic Federation of Worlds is not strong enough to knock out the reptilian presence in the galaxy. But in this solar system area, their presence is so heavy, they would win. And the reptilians realize that they have to play off the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and they do that. So whenever you've seen crisis after crisis after crisis, on Earth, we have found that there's reptilians behind almost every one of those things.
And if that's true, it would help explain why there's so much of this evil that still exists in our world. It does make sense that it connects back from somewhere else that's controlling through fear and opposition and war and conflict. And it's
Rays are not aliens. They're mutated humans from a parallel version of Earth that destroyed their version of Earth to the point where they had to go underground. They mutated. Their eyes got bigger to see in the dark and all this kind of stuff, but they had to mutate to survive. They tried cloning themselves to save their civilization, and that didn't work. Over generations, things started failing. They knew that they were basically in the process of dying out. So what they knew they needed to basically perpetuate their civilization was viable human DNA, which didn't exist anymore in their reality. but they used their advanced technology to tunnel into parallel realities, to shift into parallel worlds like ours, parallel versions of Earth that exist simultaneously with theirs, where viable human DNA was still existing, and to use that DNA through the abduction experiences to create hybrid beings from their DNA and our DNA so that their civilization would continue, would survive. So the hybrid civilizations, like Bashar's people, are actually the result of those abduction experiences and the perpetuation of their culture. But sort of as a payback for the use of that DNA, the hybrids, now like Bashar, are sharing information with us in our reality so that we might not necessarily have to go down the same destructive path.
Draconian.
Oh, Draconian is another reptoid species, but they tend to look more like a crocodile or an alligator. So they got a long snout, dark green skin. Some of the higher echelons can have wings, can be winged. Some of them can be very tall. As a species, they, tend to be the a-holes of the galaxy and very aggressive. Their main tactic and strategy is fear, and so they love to make people feel like they're super strong, super terrifying. Oh, they're so powerful, we can't possibly beat them, but they bleed like everything else. And so once we started to understand that their main tactic was to make us feel intimidated, we became less intimidated. So they're not so much of an issue. I mean, they're militarily challenging, but we have certainly met them in the field of battle and won. So.
These indigenous reptoids, what was the language like?
Well, I think the most important distinction is they have a different tongue and a different palate. So the sounds that we make, we may not think about it, are very unique to our tongue and our palate. They're sounds that are biologically distinctive to what the physiology of our mouth and our tongue and our lips can do. So in the same way, the sounds that they make for their language really are dependent on that biological relationship, again, between, mouth, teeth, tongue, palate, and so forth. I would say a lot of their language involved sort of guttural sounds, some kind of hissing sounds, as well as clicks. It's important to note that if I were to say anything in their language, even though you wouldn't hear it, I would be saying it with a Terran accent because I can't actually make the exact sounds because I don't have the same tongue and the same palate. But their name for the planet is not Mars. We call it Mars. They call it Galuka.
Wow. Very deep.
Yeah, and again, to be honest, I'm saying that very badly. So if an indigenous reptoid were here saying that, if heard me say that, he'd look at me sideways and go, because they hate it when we mispronounce their words.
Did you talk and communicate a lot with them using vocal?
They mostly spoke in English, to be honest with you, again, with an accent because of the tongue and the palate, and their English was actually pretty good. And I learned a few words, but we were not encouraged to speak their language because they're very picky about pronunciation.
WTF is that?
In the backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we just be terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. 9 feet, 10 foot, I don't know, they look like aliens to us. Big eyes, they have big eyes, like I can't explain it, and big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Happened to me. Keep in mind, this is midnight, and I'm fixing a truck in my backyard. At this point, I'm only with my brother, and I hear something fall from the sky. I turn around, the only thing I see is a big light falling from the sky, and moments after, I feel a big impact and a bang, sort of like a big impact fall. So when that happened, the only thing I can see in the backyard is a tall creature, probably around 8-10 feet tall, very thin.
Just before midnight on April 30th, skywatchers across several western states saw a bright fireball streak through the heavens. A police officer working in the Northwest Valley caught a glimpse of the colorful object on his body cam. At nearly the same time, a Ring camera in the area recorded a strange noise and what sounds like a crash. One family living in a ranch-style home had a much closer view of the object. Two brothers and their father were working on a vehicle in their yard when they caught a glimpse of a sparkly object as it came crashing down, then were hit by what they describe as a shock wave. One of the witnesses, a young man named Angel, has stated when the brothers looked into the yard where the object landed, that spot was obscured and blurry, as if by unknown form of camouflage. What they saw next prompted a frantic call to 911.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're tiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
8 News Now investigators have spoken with family members multiple times in the past 4 weeks, but each of the 3 times we accepted their invitation to do an interview, they didn't answer the door or their phone. These are some of the claims they've made in other public forums. Multiple family members backed up the story in an initial police report we obtained. Angel says they heard the patter of multiple feet in the yard. They later heard footsteps on their roof. They saw one of the 8-foot-tall creatures climb behind the controls of a large front loader stored in the yard as if trying to engage it. He got a good look at one of the creatures, he said, a greenish-grayish being with large eyes and long legs. He says he could hear its deep breaths, and when he locked eyes, he was, in essence, frozen in place, couldn't move. In the middle of the yard, where the object had crashed, then vanished, a circular impression was left in the soil.
Okay, where is this on your property?
Metro sources say the police dispatcher initially wondered whether to send a crisis intervention team to help the troubled witness, but then took the incident seriously. 2 officers arrived 38 minutes after the call, and by then had heard from other officers. They proceeded cautiously and managed some nervous laughs.
I ain't dealing with that.
A few days later, the family says, 2 Metro sergeants returned to the scene to ask follow-up questions. The family says they also saw men in suits and sunglasses driving in a car with government plates cruising slowly past the house in the following days. Nellis and Creech have denied any interest or involvement with the incident. Metro has indicated they believe the family that something crashed in their yard. But what?
You mentioned, George, in that piece that they were frozen because so many people have been critical of, like, why didn't they get their phone out? Why didn't they shoot the video? Do we know if there's even any video of this?
Yes and no. So there's a surveillance camera in the backyard. The property owner keeps that because he's got a lot of expensive equipment there. What we were told is that at the moment this thing comes down and crashed, this camera went out, and it was out for a couple of minutes. When it came back on, the object was gone, but the circle was there. We've been told by Angel in multiple phone conversations that he shot video of the creatures. We haven't seen it, and we don't know anybody else who's seen it yet, so maybe he'll release it at some point.
Anybody who wants to know about Antarctica, consider a couple of facts. That treaty, there's not one nation in the world that says, no, we want to explore Antarctica. The biggest military expedition in the history of the world was funded, and Admiral Byrd was the top man. But then he ends up getting a radio signal, but it's not from the command center. It is from an unidentified being. He also ends up seeing 2 UFOs that are not using any understood means of propulsion.
That's a good point. The nations of the world hardly agree on anything, but there's one thing they agree on. Oh, you can't go to Antarctica. strange. Now I can't say what is and what isn't there, because, duh, I've never been to Antarctica. But one thing I definitely know is something is being hidden there. Something they don't want the public to see.
This man may have just actually witnessed an alien abduction.
Pay attention, there's like glowing light and a big orb of light.
I'm fucked up. I'm fucked up. Timmy, you ain't fucked up. But that shit's getting awfully close to the moon. You see it? Yeah, I see it.
Wow. That does not look like an airplane to me. An airplane would be blinking, flashing lights or something.
Our fucked is fucked up. Our government is fucked up.
Right on, brother.
Why? Bam. What did it just hit?
Whoa.
Look at it.
What is that in front of it?
Look at the fucking smoke rings. Are you fucking shitting me?
I've never seen anything like that, that's for sure.
I'm a drunk ass redneck. Videoing some fucking shit.
That was actually pretty crazy.
Like, what in the fuck is that?
I don't know.
There's the fucking moon. This bullshit just sent a fucking shockwave.
Let me know what you think in the comments below and stay weird.
If you'll indulge me, I'd like to read 2 pages from advice from the extraterrestrials. Yes, it's true that we have been in contact with your government and heads of power. It is also true that we've been It is also true that agreements have been made and kept secret from your people. It is also true that in the past some of your people have lost their lives or have been badly hurt to protect the secret. Our hands had no part in this. We contacted your leaders because your planet is in grave trouble. Your leaders said the vast majority of your population wasn't ready for anything like us yet. So we made time agreements with your leaders as to when your people would be made aware of our presence. Your air, your water are contaminated. Your forests, jungles, trees, and plant life are dying. There are several breaks in your food chain. You have an overwhelming amount of nuclear and biological weapons, which include nuclear and biological contamination. Your planet is overpopulated. Warning, it is almost to the point of being too late, unless your people act. There are better ways of deriving energy and food needs without causing your planet any damage. Those in power are aware of this and have the capability of putting these methods into worldwide use. Those in power view it as a military and security threat. That upset me. You mean to tell me that the people in power have the ability to save and better the planet, and they aren't doing it? Amnesty. What do you mean? Complete amnesty to those in power, governments and leaders who have been suppressing the truth, that they can't be held liable for any past wrong deeds. It is the only way these leaders can come forward with the truth. It is necessary that you do this in order to work together and
Human casualties are massive. It's impossible to make visual contact. They're absorbing all our power supplies.
This wasn't just Moscow. New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, all reported invisible invaders.
They came here with a plan. They can see us, but we can't see them.
What do they want?
Energy, electricity.
Oh my god.
Get inside! The way it lit up that cop car. Electricity gives it away. Warning devices.
We're talking about the quataloid.
Okay.
That's the insect praying mantis type looking, about could be up to 6 foot tall. They were the dangerous ones. And they're the ones, as I understand, that we didn't know a whole lot about. But we acquired this one, particular one, from a crash site, and it actually harmed a human. So we were very careful of how we captured it and how we stored it at the containment facility at Stu Annex.
Rick, are there different species of quataloids?
Yeah, because they're genetically engineered, and we know that much. But so there are other species, and they also can appear different to humans. They make themselves appear in a particular manner to a human, and would probably just scare them, I would guess. But we know that one particular incident where one harmed a human being, we felt that at that point that these things were not friendly, they were not benevolent, and therefore that's why we had to keep it in captivity. And not really sure how long it had been there. Well, that's one question that was never answered when this story was told to me by Gene Laskowski, who was in fact the one of the ones that was there. I don't know that he knew how long it would been there, but the facility housing these things had been there probably 7 to 10 years. So probably during that time period, we obtained it.
Why are they here? Are they here on for peace? What are they, do they have an agenda?
I wish we knew. I don't know that we knew why the craft crashed. I know that the craft contained 2 others. There were 3 of them, and 2 died, and this one lived. And it also had the ability to heal itself. I remember that. But I don't know much other, reason why they came here. Their craft was one of the bigger crafts that we had obtained, and it crashed in the Nevada desert. And that's about all we knew. And I don't know how long it had been in captivity.
So are they concerning to us in any way?
Yes, because they're hostile.
Okay.
They already injured humans.
Elaborate that incident that happened. Maybe it was hurt and it just fought back.
Well, at the time the craft crashed, the recovery team, the SDART team, had formed at that time period, and they were there to recover it. And there was also a local law enforcement officer there. The local law enforcement officer, who had absolutely no knowledge of any species of extraterrestrial visiting Earth, was the one that was harmed. Now, I'm not sure exactly the details in that. But the other SDART team were able to neutralize the quataloid. But so we knew it was hostile. But if you've put yourself in their position. The craft crashed for some unknown reason. 2 of their comrades are dead. Now you're alive, and these humans are trying to get in this craft. I mean, a defense mechanism might have reacted with this quadriloid or what? I don't know. We can guess. But
well, that's what I'm getting at is how can they just, based off that one incident, say these quadriloids are dangerous? They're disrespecting the human race here. They're attacking us. It seems like there's more to that story that we just don't know.
Well, the more to the story is that we were able to disable it some way, I don't know how, and transport it to a containment facility and store it in a container, basically. Now, I would be upset if that was me. If I went to another planet as an astronaut and I get captured and struck and then thrown in a container, I mean, yeah. So we don't know how they think, and so, but this leads up to why why it escaped.
So this is the one. So let's go ahead and get into that. Why did it escape and how?
It was able to open a underground vault door. I don't know that they ever figured out how it opened it. And then it had to navigate a smaller tunnel system to get up to the surface.